many of the areas that we focus on, such as plant-based alternatives, sustainable seafood, local agriculture, traditional and cultural foods. Those are all areas that we're very excited by, because those are the areas that are going to, with the innovation and the inspiration of the entrepreneurs who are doing the work in this space, and with our collaboration and our partnership, we're looking to help them move the needle. So it's very much about, our mission is to serve the founders who are on a mission to better the good food ecosystem. And so now I would like to turn it over to some of those founders who have just worked with us for the past 20 weeks and gone through a very intensive program. So I'd like to give them a round of applause if you could. And so first up is Generation Fresh.
Thank you, Gigi. Thank you, Shen. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and it's been an incredible process. Generation Fresh is the opportunity that we all have to solve one of the greatest challenges of our time, to transform our food industry, to make delicious, nutritious, fresh foods accessible for all children. I started Generation Fresh on my Virginia farm to share the bounty, joy, and abundance of our farming community with all children. But I knew to reach the kids that need us most, I needed to reach big. So I came back here to New York City, uptown, all the way in Harlem in the South Bronx, to the food desert, the biggest food desert in the country. And it's there that we are inspired by how kids love to grow, cook, and eat fresh foods. And in 2 years, we're reaching and feeding kids, 1 million kids in the New York City food system. And in 20 minutes, we had a deal with Walmart. And Sam's Club a year later, we're in over 500 stores. But what inspires us most is the way that kids get excited about fresh. And so we're creating fresh snack and meal solutions to make nutritious, accessible for all. We hope that you'll join us to grow the next generation of healthy kids. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Willow King. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Ozuké. This doesn't work anyway.
I'm Mara King. I'm the co-founder and COO of Ozuké.
We are a Boulder, Colorado-based fermentation company. We make naturally probiotic foods and beverages. And the heart of our business is really wellness. That is what inspired us to start the business, and it's what inspires us to continue pushing our products out to the consumers. And I want to thank Gigi and Shen and the whole Food Future team, as well as friends and investors that are here today, for not only encouraging us and helping us hold the vision of our business, but for holding that vision of good food and wellness that really starts far before these products make it to the shelf. So from the organic farmers that we support and work with to give them some security and give us fresh veggies, from the people who work in our factory, paying them a living wage, having a zero waste facility, feeding our compost to local piggies, to the eventual products that make their way to you. We are relying on everybody to believe in the importance of all the steps that happen to getting these products to market. And we're very proud to be a company that is feeling good about all those steps along the way. As part of the patient and consistent cajoling of our cohort, we have come up with a very exciting new product. They are probiotic sparkling tonics. And it's been kind of a thrill to see an idea to an actual reality. And we do have a few samples left back there, so if someone's interested in trying, you can come tap us on the shoulder. So thank you so much for being here. Like the mic.
No. Try it.
I think it's a live stream only mic. So shout out to everybody out there. Hi, Mom and Dad. Hope you saw my Facebook post. Thank you everyone else for coming out tonight. My name is Patrick Mateer. I'm the founder and CEO of Seal the Seasons. And before I tell you what Seal the Seasons, what we do and how we do it, I want to touch on why we are here and why I hope a lot of you all are here. We believe in opportunity, we believe in transparency, and we believe in creating really authentic products. And we live that mission. At Seal the Seasons, we are creating locally grown frozen foods from your community. We create opportunity for local family farms, farms that may have never accessed the frozen market before. We're doing it in a transparent way by letting people know exactly where their food comes from and what farmers delivered that product. And we're delivering authenticity. We're a certified B Corp. We put pictures of our farmers right on the front of our package, and really just communicate to everybody why we are here, what our mission is. We started in North Carolina, where we now serve almost 1,000 stores, or will by this August 1st. And we're moving up here to New York and New Jersey this fall. We're launching November 1st with locally grown New Jersey product and locally grown New York product. Really hope you all will support our product and support the local farmers from your community. Again, thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Hey guys, my name is Josh Sizemore. I'm the founder of Unify Water. Unify, I know you guys are probably like, fuck, another water brand. But no, we have many differentiators compared to the other premium brands in market today. Starting with our source. So our source is the only source in America certified by the USDA to drink from the ground. The top 6 premium brands in market are all imported into the country. So as of now, we're the only 100% American-made and single-source premium water in market. Our source is naturally alkaline. We bottle directly at the source. It produces 10+ million gallons of water a day, which, to give you some perspective, we could provide the water for every water brand in the country from our single source. And then we have our give back model. So we have a 1-for-1 model that allows us for every bottle sold, we give a gallon of water away to people around the world, both internationally and domestically. So last year we launched in July, so July to December we were able to give more than 1 million gallons of water to 2 communities in West Kenya, and then we gave over 300,000 gallons to 9 different states in the U.S. So we've also integrated a cool feature for the consumer to actually go on our platform, bring up the map of impact, and you can actually drag and drop where you want your water to go in real time. So like I mentioned, we launched in July last year, so we've been running now for about 10 months. We're in about 3,000 stores, 9 states, and we have some really cool partnerships, but ultimately we want to create the best premium brand in the country and ultimately the world, but along the way help a lot of people get access to clean water in a really tangible way that allows the consumer to give back. So hope you guys enjoy the water, and if you don't, please don't tell me.
Thank you all for coming. Thanks, Josh, and thanks all the CEO. You see, I'm Shen Tong. I founded FoodFutureCo with this excellent team and many of you advisors, mentors, investors, of course, and especially our core team, Jenny and Gigi there, and many of you, I don't know where you are, Jason, Janet, Lisa, where are you? But so we are nothing without this superstar CEOs. We follow our CEOs, we follow our entrepreneurs' energy. And these are not just any businesses. These are businesses that are doing good. They have a deliberate social and environmental mission. So we're here to help these companies to have business as force for good, so that our investors can do well by doing good, right? So, interesting beverages. Does this work? It does. Okay. And really delicious and interesting food, whether it's probiotic, or fresh kids meals. But, why does any of this matter? I mean, these are really, small companies, right? And does it really move the needle in our food system? Well, that's the interesting question. Why do we do all of this hard work? Why does it matter, right? So maybe people in this room know that there's some interesting, bizarre facts out there. Right? I mean, different from this food and beverage companies and their product and services, right? So what's out there, what's happening in most part of the world most of the time is that, like news, we all know that Twinkies or McDonald's burger can last for years without going bad, right? So, but a little less known than those really bizarre news is that it probably takes about 3 conventional apples to equal to 1 inorganic apple in nutritional content. Right? And in animal protein, that ratio is about 1 to 2, 1 to 5, depending on, in vitamin A, for example, in apple, that's 100 to 1. It takes 100 conventional apples. So, and there's also some other bizarre factors. Highest growth child's obesity rate is in China, right? So, what else? The global seafood market alone equals to the entire size of software market, 400 billion. And the major food and beverage companies that is fast food and highly processed food have revenue decline in the last few years continuously. So what all of these facts of life and business have in common? It's one thing. It's a story of empty calories that is making large portion of global population fat and sick and hungry at the same time. I have no other ways to describe it. Right? So that's why the work of these companies are really important. That $9 trillion annual revenue market between food and beverage agriculture can and need to be disrupted, because what this innovative companies represent is less than 10% out there. The rest is empty calories that's making our population the way they are. So if we take a look at this great opportunity. So, this is a rare opportunity where, again, we can do very well by doing good. We have no illusion. It's hard enough to do good. It's hard enough to do business, to build a business from zero. Right? How could you have our cake and eat it? How could you do both at the same time? Because this is such a course correction that's absolutely needed and different from most of other disruptive space. This time, consumers, eaters, communities, and asking for it. It's not like we build, maybe they will come. They already come. Right? The cultural or behavioral shift has already happened. So what we're building here is a business engine to drive this trend forward. It's not just trend. Many of you know, who have seen me and in the last 5 demo days know that I always say food is new black, but it's more than that. It's more than that, because there's many trends coming together, creating a movement moment. This is real movement because it has staying power, and it's needed, and it's fun, and it's interesting, and it's tasty, and it's delicious, right? So this business engine is, we have 8 companies. This is the second cohort, so congratulations, team. 2 down, but a dozen more to go, okay? So, just don't celebrate too much. And, but you can see there's marketplaces, there are new consumer packaged goods, there are nature and kitchen in a box kind of idea. That's core to our thesis. The reason we can have our cake and eat it is not only because millennials and Gen Z are asking for it, it's also because that for 50 years that we have made food ubiquitous, huge production, and really cheap, but deprived of nutrition. And now, and all that investment, all that work, all that scientific and sophisticated financial height that the food and agriculture industry have achieved cannot compare. Those massive knowledge cannot compare to the power of the wisdom, which is respect of the resilience of nature and culinary traditions. That's what we're doing here, and we can see the impact right now in consumer product. Right, 9 major food companies are making over 90% of choices for Western industrial countries. Right. But meanwhile, another half of the market is happening, right? This groundswell of companies, it's really hard to read, right? I mean, it's not only all this groundswell of new innovations, but also that it's interesting that in this pivot, in this movement, that the incumbents are actually participating in the disruption. Majority of major food and agriculture companies have set up similar style of accelerator and early stage fund, very different from the traditional corporate. I mean, I know it's a little hard to read, right? I mean, so you know the recent news about Blue Apron going public next week, and the Amazon acquisition of Whole Food. The food movement is alive and well. This business engine we've been starting to building to participate, to be part of, is alive and well. And while it is so hard to read on the screen, I'll make it easier. This is the future of food. This is what we are working hard to de-risk. This is the companies that's going to deliver that future, because the future of food is now. And we can do this. We can do well by doing good, by building this business engine, because we're not the pioneer here. We're following the giant. We're standing on the broad shoulder of pioneers and giants who trailblazed by making this cultural and behavioral shift possible. And one of this pioneer, one of the giants is among us today. I'm going to give you our keynote speaker, Michael Moss, who wrote the seminal investigative journalist work that won him a Pulitzer Prize about contaminated meat. Pretty much single-handedly, I mean, domestically, if not globally, started a discussion about highly processed therefore contaminated meat, right? And following that, so the more fun book that Michael actually painted that explained this empty calorie story I've been talking about, which is by his bestseller book, Salt, Sugar, Fat, right? Which is full of highly processed salt, sugar, fat, full of fill these empty calories. So without further ado, I give you Michael.
I'm learning to play the cello, so this is going to come natural, I hope. But the microphone works. That's why we're using this. Yes, and the clicker I think works too. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Give me a time limit. Actually, just kick me when we're ready to go into Q&A, because I think the real fun here is going to be hearing from you and having a discussion about these fabulous companies and what Shen is up to and what you all are up to. But I'll give you a little bit of look inside my world, which was crawling inside the world of the food giants to sort of explain and understand, how we came to become so dependent on their products, as Shen laid out to you. And I because for me it was like being in a detective story. I brought along my little Prezi friend with the little Sherlock Holmes footprints to take you through that. And this part of the story really begins after the book came out, with a phone call I got from none other than Nestle. In 2002, Nestle paid $2.6 billion for that microwavable frozen delicacy called the Hot Pocket. Arguably one of the least healthy items in the grocery store and a poster child for, let's say, exuberant snacking. And 5 years later, Nestle acquired a drink to address one of the grimmest aspects of overeating. Every year, some 200,000 Americans undergo surgery, bariatric surgery, to help them deal with the desperation of overeating and having too much weight. This drink keeps them alive going forward. Gorge on Hot Pockets, eat through a straw, get them fat, get them thin. Nestle had it going both ways. That's basically page 337 of Salt, Sugar, Fat. Oh yeah, there it is. I'm sorry, I laugh every time I see this cover because Random House had an early version of it. It wasn't happy with, and they got this crazy Russian guy in upstate New York to look at it, and he read the book, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I got this." And he goes into the grocery store and he gets all his favorite products, brings them home and rips out the lettering. You can still see the tear marks on the letters, and rearranges the letters to reflect what's really going on inside these products, which is how the title Salt, Sugar, Fat came out. So imagine my surprise when the book came out, when I got a call from none other than Nestle, which by now was the largest food manufacturer in the world. They wanted me to come and talk to their private gathering of 60 R&D officials from around the world. And these are the people who invented and nurture not just the Hot Pocket, but 28 other, what the company calls their billionaire brands of products. One of my sources for the book, actually a former official at Nestle, explained to me that Nestle has become so rich. What we may think of it as the company that started out with milk products became so rich that they call it the Swiss bank that prints food. And when I was sort of mulling it over, my oldest son, who's off to or had his eyes already on some expensive college, was saying to me, Dad, I think if you go, because you have to pay your own way, you're a journalist, right? I think if you go, you should maybe just buy a one-way ticket, because there's no way that Nestle is going to let you come visit and then let you go home again and keep talking about them. But but Nestle had this new head of the R&D division that said, no, Michael, look, we're turning a corner here. We're trying to do better by people, and we need to hear from you all the bad things that we've been doing in order to sort of really appreciate the good stuff that we're doing. I'm trying to talk my guys into doing a better job here. So I went. Did I just cancel it? So I went there, and that is actually a picture of the meeting right before I stood up. You'll notice, and they swore this just wasn't for me, but they didn't have Kit Kats on the table anymore. They had nuts and fresh fruit for their executives. And I gave them the full 90 minutes salt, sugar, fat, how the food giants hooked us talk. And we don't have time today even for the Cliff Notes version of that. But here's the tiniest nutshell of it. They have extraordinary science at their disposal, in this case to do the incredible math work and the legwork to design the optimum amount of sweetness in products. This was a project by the scientist who invented the term the bliss point to describe their efforts to make not just candy and cookies and ice cream sweet, but most everything in the grocery store. Besides sugar, of course, they love salt. The industry describes that as the flavor burst because it's usually the first thing that hits your tongue, and they have as many as 60 different types of salt formulations to use in their foods. And of course, there's also fat. I mean, we can sit around debating the merits of saturated or unsaturated fats, but to the industry, it's all mouthfeel. And in many ways, fat is an ingredient to them as salt and sugar are. And it's not just the salt, sugar, fat either. They have the science down to a degree that they come up with things like, and expressions and terminology like vanishing caloric density. For those of you who had a Cheeto lately, you know that when you press that Cheeto against the roof of your mouth and it melts and disappears, well, what the industry knows is that that sends a signal to your brain, telling your brain that the calories have disappeared, and you might as well just keep eating all those Cheetos as you want because it's not going to cause a problem, your brain thinks after that. And so they dub it the vanishing caloric density. And it's not just, I was talking to somebody earlier this evening, it's not just the ingredients either. They have access to the most cunning, intelligent, targeting marketing people in the world, and they know the power of marketing in their products. I wasn't even going to write about the Lunchables, but then I met the inventor of the Lunchables, and then I ran across a quote from the former CEO saying, these things really aren't as much about the food as they are about the marketing. And how else to explain a billion-dollar brand that started out with little bits of processed ham and processed cheese, and morphed into cold pizza crust and sauce, wowing kids like that. And the marketing came in sort of knowing what would grab kids in the lunchroom with this sort of very product. And when they would get in trouble, because one of the things I'd forgotten, which is like some of the largest food manufacturers in the country were owned by none other, some of the largest tobacco manufacturers. And whenever they would get in trouble, or whenever a sort of a new trend would come along, the tobacco companies would help them out. Most importantly, in the front end of the supermarket, where you have the checkout lanes and a captive audience for some of the most interesting foods that the food giants create. So I told Nestle that, and I think I threw in a line too about how I don't see this industry as this evil empire that intentionally set out to get us overweight or otherwise ill. I mean, these are companies doing what all companies want to do, which is to make as much money as possible by selling as much product as possible. Their problem lies in their incredible deep dependency on using gobs of salt, sugar, fat to make their products incredibly low cost, amazingly convenient, and irresistible. And now that the world is changing and demanding better foods with real things in them, that very same industry is between the proverbial rock and a hard place. So I sat down to some polite applause, and then I did what I really wanted to do by visiting Nestle, which was to sort of swim around with some of the 300 PhDs they have working on new food products. And they made a huge impression upon me about how they are fighting tooth and nail to cut back on salt, sugar, fat. They're doing things like flattening out fat globules so you get more mouthfeel taste for less actual fat. They're replacing sugars with natural sugars like stevia. They're taking the salt out of the product and putting it just on the surface so you get more of that flavor burst. And I listened to them, and in fact, they are coming up with a, somewhat better for you, less harmful for you products across the board, and having sort of great success in that. But, and this is, in fact, a bit of a confession on my part, because as much as I've kind of harped on salt, sugar, fat as the unholy trinity on which the processed food industry has hooked us, when you talk to nutritionists about what we need going forward, salt, sugar, fat really isn't kind of on the top of their list. What's on the top of the list is getting us to fill up our plates with more of this stuff as a very important, sort of very big step toward eating better. So I had this sort of idea, and excuse the possessive, but I do kind of feel possessive about my food giants as the unofficial tormentor of them. So I had the question, what would they do if they suddenly had to start selling produce without ruining the nutrition profile of it? And I think they would go back to the basics. They would go back to all those farmers in this country who they encouraged to grow soybean and field corn and say, hey guys, what do you think about planting some produce? And indeed, this is a group of soybean and corn farmers in the Midwest who are learning to plant fruits and vegetables that people can eat directly. They would go into, as a way, by the way, of lowering the price of food. Low cost is huge for them. They would go after convenience. This is just sort of one example about how one supermarket chain, Wegmans, tries to lure people into the produce aisle by making it a little bit easier to cook in this case, a ready-made to eat stir fry. And I think maybe most importantly of all, I think they would go to the Madison Avenue, their geniuses there, and say, hey guys, you know how we got you to sell Coca-Cola? How would you like to start selling or find a way to hit those emotional buttons that might get people to eat more produce? So I had the same idea. It took a while, but finally I found a marketing advertising firm that agreed to do for me a pro bono campaign selling not just any vegetable, but arguably one of the most difficult vegetables in the produce aisle. And not only that, but allowing me to film their work as they went about what turned out to be a really difficult assignment. And I'm going to show you 2 little snippets from the video that we did of their work. If we have sound, great. We do not. Oh, we do.
And I'm president of the United States, and I'm not going to eat any more broccoli.
In spite of its well-known health benefits, broccoli is not a popular vegetable. It was derided by President George Bush, and it's pretty much ignored by the rest of us. I'm Michael Moss, and I write about the intersection of food and marketing for the New York Times. I'm trying to answer the question, what would it take to get people to eat better? An advertising firm, the Crimson Squirrels, whose previous clients include Quiznos, General Mills, and Coca-Cola, took on the challenge pro bono. And at one point they said to me, Michael, you're not giving us any money. We got to do like some social media stuff. Maybe we'll try to like pick a fight with something else in the grocery store. And I thought, oh, great. They're going to go after Hot Pockets or Lunchables. And they go, no. You're forgetting your own book where you wrote about how, the battle between Coca-Cola and Pepsi for supremacy in the soda aisle was entirely bloodless for them, because every time one of them did a great new marketing campaign, all boats rose in the soda aisle. We're going to do something a little different, and this is what they came up with. No, this is what they came up with.
Talking about kale. It is everywhere. This is Bon Appetit magazine.
Boy, did I hear from the
There's a
kale
whole section
people.
on the vegetable revolution in here, and there's a timeline around when all of these vegetables have their it moments. Broccoli is not on this list. There's nothing new or exciting to say about broccoli. Part of our challenge is going to be how to change the visual communication, the visual style of broccoli in culture.
That wall over there says broccoli isn't exactly that cool. But maybe there's something cool.
You don't want to do that anymore, but maybe they're in on the joke. I mean, the fact that broccoli's having its own campaign, I think you have a lot of fun with.
So you read this thing like, I'd like you to live longer. Here's something that's going to do that. So in essence, broccoli is probably a better fit than flour. Oh.
It's a little drop, but that was his suggestion. That's how these marketing geniuses sort of get their juices flowing, right? Which is like crack jokes like that. So this is what they came up with. It went on the cover of the New York Times, and they came up with stuff like this. I said it earlier, boy did I hear from the kale people on that one. And it was fictitious, it wasn't real until some students at Yale actually picked up on it and said, hey, we're going to school in one of the biggest food deserts in the country, why don't we give this a try? And they used the marketing campaign materials and managed to double the sale of broccoli in some very short order. Actually, we have the leader of the group who did the broccoli campaign with us right here, Andy Nathan, sitting at the table. You want to wave, Andy? This is him in the middle of his new group, the Fortnite group, and I'm sure you all can pick his brain about doing some stuff. And since then, just some really incredible marketing material has come along that I think is probably accessible to a lot of you. Some of it's not very expensive, some of it's incredibly clever, and I'll show you just 2 snippets. That is by, well, the other Andy, the Andy boy, the broccoli Rob grower in this case. Here, you know, and they're unheard of to have the produce aisle department doing marketing, which up until this point has been the entire purview of the 90% rest of the market. And I've given talks to the produce marketing associations where they're gearing up to do lots of stuff like this. Apologies to vegans, but I just love this next commercial for.
Hey, Big Food. We've had some good times. You were so colorful, so sweet, but I've had enough of your artificial ingredients. Enough quantity over quality. I'm done. Goodbye, Big Food. Hello, farmers. Hello, Co-op. Hello, Integrity. Hello, Molly. Hello, naturally aged cheddar, made by a real craftsman. Hello, Dale. Hi. Hello, better lunch boxes, better breakfasts, better snack times, better Sunday family dinners. Hello, people who care about their food and how it's made. Hello, everyone. We found something real. Tillamook.
The other great thing that's happening out there is that some of the smartest people in the food giant world are switching sides. This is none other than Bob Drain, the inventor of the Lunchables, who is one of the bunch of people in my book who came to have misgivings about their life work. He's now been working with companies like those we've seen here today. One of his first projects was to sort of talk to the inventor of this product, the farmer's fridge, and he's sort of bringing with him hardcore marketing strategy that worked well for things like the Lunchables and seems to be working well for other products too, because one of the things he said to Luke was putting his farmer's fridges at 7-Elevens, and Bob sort of pointed out, look, you don't really, people have a lot of choice when they drive up to the 7-Eleven. They can go down the street and have lunch somewhere else. They're driving. Why don't you put these things in a place where you have a captive audience, like a big office building, or in the case of the farmer's fridge, they started putting these things in airports, and you can now find them in O'Hare. It's low cost, terrifically convenient, amazing, alluring, produce salads, made all the more powerful by a touch of marketing from the food giants, who, speaking of which, aren't sitting still. I mean, you all know what they're doing. They are now stealing back from you ideas that you thought were yours, organic, natural, simple ingredients. On the way here, I saw a notice from Pepperidge Farm. They've just come up with a thin and crispy cookie with 12 ingredients. Does everybody know Tate's? Kind of sounds like Tate's cookies, right? What else are they doing? They're doing that, of course. Speaking of another water brand, they're doing social responsibility stuff. And the most important thing, though, I think to keep in mind is that the food giants are incredibly risk averse. They don't actually invent anything. They buy companies and people who invent things and ideas. And so they've been busy, as Shen mentioned, going around buying up products that people like yourselves have invented and nurtured and brought along until they've been really successful. We'll just do a quick guessing game before I'm done here, but who knows the owner of this wonderful cereal? General Mills. I'm sorry, who said Kellogg's? Yes, Kellogg's is right. And this one? General Mills, yes, of course. And this one? Nah, Amy still owns it. I tricked you, sorry. Lastly, I love these guys. This was one of Shen's earlier founders who just had some terrific news. They're battling away in the condiment aisle of the supermarket with real ketchup made from real vegetables, and just had this announcement that Safeway was picking them up in a bunch of stores and a bunch of states. Again, because the food giants and the grocers know a good thing when they see it. And lastly, when you guys get really big and successful, then you can deal with hedge funders like this guy who just invested a huge amount of money in Nestle and is now busy coercing them to go who knows what direction with their salt, sugar, fat formulas. So thank you so much, and we'll now do some Q&A. Yes, and not just for me. So no, I do it. Okay, I'm happy to. Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, I actually have a question that it sounded like the war is primarily from our bodies, is between guts and mouthfeel, right? Because
yes.
all this mouthfeel hook us up.
Yes.
Hook us.
Right.
But then the guts disagree, right? It tricks brain.
Yeah.
Taste. So, but how do we win that war?
How do you win that?
A little less direct.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the, so, getting us in this position was incredibly easy looking back on it. Getting out of this position is really difficult because, I mean, kids especially are hardwired for sweet taste. I mean, their little brains see sugar as fuel for their growing bodies. And so getting them to desire something that's not incredibly sweet, and they also have a very high threshold or low thresholds for sweetness, is the really sort of difficult part of that. There's no easy answer to that, but it's certainly more than willpower. A lot more has to sort of go into changing that, and some of it is just forming new habits.
We're gonna have a generation of fresh, right? We're gonna start them early.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Anyone have any questions? Barbara.
So do you think that this, sort of like food can eventually go away from retail, where there's, all the, there's going to be major shifts happening away from unhealthy food to healthier food?
So the question is there going to be a major shift away from unhealthy to healthy food because of retail changing? I mean, so if you're thinking about like home delivery food, I was actually really excited about those companies when they first sort of came out, because they have amazing power to sort of help people nudge themselves toward healthier eating, because they control, I mean, look, the supermarkets are all about kind of controlling your shopping experience, and it's all about impulse buying from the moment you walk into the store. And these home delivery companies can actually shape their products and their delivery mode to encourage us to eat better if they want to, and if they make that sort of accessible to people who need that the most. Low cost, healthy food. So I think there's a glimmer of hope in that whole area if they start responding in that way and moving that direction. Yeah, please.
Along the same lines, in your book you talk about big CPG consciously dismantling home economics, nutritional education in schools.
Yeah.
And I see, very obviously this is a big reason why people don't eat as healthy. They don't understand the basics. I mean, you talk to people today, even people inside the food industry, they don't understand the basic macro micronutrients that go into making up food.
Right.
Are there any programs that you know of that are really trying to bring this basic nutritional education back to schools, trying to make it so doctors are even aware, doctors don't?
Yeah, I know you've really. I gave a talk once to so the question is, what about education? What about helping people rediscover food in a way that they used to, mostly girls but boys as well, in sort of home economic classes in school. And you're so right. I mean, I gave a talk to the Hospital Association of Kansas a while ago, and the entire state is a food desert. And they're trying to improve the food that not only patients get, but visitors get in the cafeteria. And they're going like, we can't even start thinking about having a farmer's market because nobody's growing produce here. We're growing field corn and soybeans, and our produce comes from the nearest Walmart, which is often 150 miles away. But yes, there are a few incredible programs that are going after kids in schools with kind of a new way of thinking about food. And it's and the way that they're trying to sort of seduce the students into cooking and thinking about food is think about food as politics and about sort of the big multinational companies coming after them the same way that the tobacco companies did. And cooking and shopping and eating well is a way of empowering themselves in a way that not smoking was some years ago, or not doing crack or what have you was some years before that. So that's kind of the approach that they're taking. But you know what the first thing they're starting with in those classes? Here's a fork, here's a spoon, here's a knife, because so many kids now don't need those utensils the way that they eat. So it's a tough good. You know, it's going to vary from community to community. I've actually written a little bit about some of them, and we can talk later, and I can refer you to that. Yes, sir.
Yes, following up on food delivery, food apron thing.
Yeah.
The evolution of the space as a whole with technology, innovation, 3D printing, beyond meat, even AI. Do you see where do you see things going down the line when it comes to tech and the confluence of food?
Yeah, so I mean, my hope is that, you know, the tech efforts will have this conscience, will understand the incredible need out there is in communities that even today don't have access even in supermarkets to good food, or when they do have access to supermarkets, they're steered toward the worst part of their store. So I think it's going to depend upon the companies sort of recognizing and responding to that need, and maybe people in this room sort of pushing them toward that understanding too. Because again, I mean, you know, by the same token that I don't see the food giants as this evil empire, they're also not philanthropers. They will go where the profits are. And I think increasingly they're starting to realize that the profits are in fact in healthier, simpler food, the kind of stuff that everyone in this room eats.
Anything on the Whole Foods Amazon thing?
It's going to be wild. I mean, you know, we're going to see drones, right, delivering, of course. And in the short term, it's driving the other supermarket chains absolutely nuts, though, too, because one of the hallmarks of processed food and groceries is the incredible low cost, and that's not necessarily a good thing in the totality of the food environment.
One last question.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Of course.
What's your take on food waste? So we're 6.6 billion pounds of food waste. Three primary categories: restaurants, institutions,
Right.
past expiration date, and especially profits.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a bit of an evolution for me on food waste, because I'm was sort of coming from it from the obesity standpoint, where not cleaning your plate may be sort of the better approach to sort of having some control over your own diet. Food waste is huge. I mean, the impact that it has, I mean, on the environment. I'm sort of, taking those nutrients out of the soil when it's good food. Hey, wasting soda, I mean, ultimately that's bad too, but in the short run, it actually has some good things. It's a huge thing, and more power to people like you probably who are battling that part of the puzzle, because there's many different parts. Yeah. Of course.
Thank you. Michael Moss. Yeah. We're really looking forward. Yeah. Michael is working on a secret book. Yeah. So actually, it's very much relevant to what we're talking about. Is that when we talk about food as addiction, how addictive really it is. Well, you look at Middle America, you see how addictive it is. But we're really looking forward to the work coming out. But I think we're not here. We're not in cultural advocacy. We're not in social protest. We build Business Engine because these companies, these superstar CEOs, their solutions is the best way to build a movement at this point, which is not to preach, which is not to confront, but to make the incumbent system obsolete and making it fun, making it available. So we're really honored and happy to have you here. So we still have some time remaining. Mingle, enjoy your drinks, enjoy your reception, and thank you for coming.